What if I told you that being an entrepreneur isn't about living on your terms, sipping lattes in exotic locations and working only when inspiration strikes? In fact, the picture-perfect Instagram version of entrepreneurship is far from reality. Here's the truth. It's messy, it's chaotic, and sometimes it's downright exhausting. But here's the kicker. It's also one of the most rewarding things you can ever do, if you're ready for it. Welcome to Financia Scope. This is the channel where we go beyond the surface to uncover the raw, unfiltered realities of money, success, and life as a hustler. Whether you're dreaming about leaving your 9-to-5, already running your own business, or just curious about what entrepreneurship really looks like, this is the place for you. Now before we dive in, let's set one thing straight. I'm not here to scare you or crush your dreams. My goal is to arm you with the truth, so when you step into this world of entrepreneurship, you're prepared to handle the ups and the downs. Because trust me, the highlight reels on social media, they only tell half the story. Stick around, because in this video, we're going to bust myths, explore the hidden challenges no one talks about, and most importantly, show you how to navigate this journey like a pro. Ready? Let's jump in. Alright, so here's the deal. Most people think of entrepreneurship as freedom. Freedom from bosses, freedom from schedules, freedom to chase your passions. And while some of that is true, there's so much more to the story. In this video, we're peeling back the layers to reveal the less glamorous but absolutely vital parts of being an entrepreneur. Here's a sneak peek. First, we'll talk about the illusion of freedom. Is being your own boss really as freeing as it sounds? Or are you trading one kind of responsibility for another? Next, we'll dig into the secret power of failure. Spoiler alert, failure isn't the end. It's actually where some of the best lessons hide. And then we'll cover mind over hustle, where we'll talk about how your mindset can literally make or break your success. But here's the part I'm most excited about. Toward the end of the video, we'll talk about one habit that sets successful entrepreneurs apart from everyone else. If you only stick around for one section, make it that one, because this habit has the power to completely change your approach to life and business. Now let's dive into the first big question. Is entrepreneurship really as free as everyone says? Okay, pop quiz. When you think of freedom, what comes to mind? Maybe it's working from a beach, setting your own hours, or never having to answer to anyone else ever again. And look, those things can happen as an entrepreneur. But here's the plot twist. Freedom doesn't come without responsibility, and often the responsibilities of being your own boss can feel even heavier than a traditional 9-to-5. Let me paint a picture for you. You quit your job, you start your own business, and suddenly, you're calling the shots. Sounds great, right? But here's the thing no one tells you. When you're the boss, everything falls on your shoulders. There's no manager to blame if a deadline is missed. There's no IT department to call when your website crashes, and there's definitely no paycheck automatically hitting your bank account every 2 weeks if you don't hustle to make it happen. Now don't get me wrong. There is freedom in entrepreneurship, but it's not the kind of freedom people usually imagine. It's not about working less or escaping stress, it's about having the choice to work on what matters most to you. But that choice comes with strings attached. You have to be disciplined enough to manage your time, motivated enough to push through tough days, and resourceful enough to figure things out when they go wrong. And trust me, they will go wrong. Let's break it down. When you're an employee, you usually have a set list of responsibilities. Answer these emails, finish this report, show up to this meeting. But when you're an entrepreneur, your job is everything. You're the CEO, the accountant, the marketer, the customer service rep, and sometimes even the janitor. Here's a fun fact. According to a 2023 survey by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average entrepreneur works about 50 to 60 hours per week, especially in the early stages of their business. That's 10 to 20 hours more than a typical 9-to-5 job. So, while you might have the freedom to set your own hours, chances are you'll be working more hours than ever before, at least in the beginning. But let's get real for a second. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. Here's the upside. When you're working those long hours, you're building your dream, not someone else's. That's the kind of freedom that makes the sacrifices worth it. It's the freedom to choose your own goals, your own clients, and your own path. But make no mistake, that freedom doesn't mean fewer responsibilities, it means different responsibilities. Now let's talk about another big reality check. the idea of flexibility. You've probably heard people say, as an entrepreneur I can work whenever I want, and that's true, kind of. What they usually leave out is this. While you can technically work at 2 a.m. in your pajamas, the work still has to get done. Whether you're answering client emails, pitching your services, or managing a team, there's no magic wand to make the workload disappear just because you set your own schedule. Here's an example. Let's say you're running an online store. Sure, you can decide to take a Friday off. But what happens when a customer emails you with a problem, or when your supplier doesn't deliver on time? The freedom to take the day off quickly disappears when the weight of running the business is on your shoulders. So, what's the takeaway here? The freedom of entrepreneurship isn't about escaping responsibility, it's about owning it. It's about taking control of your life in a way that allows you to pursue your passions, but also requires you to be accountable for everything that happens along the way. Now here's a question for you. If you're dreaming of entrepreneurship, are you ready for that level of responsibility? Because if the answer is yes, then you're already one step closer to making it work. But here's the thing. Responsibility isn't a bad thing. It's actually what gives entrepreneurship its meaning. Because when you're responsible for everything, you also get to enjoy the rewards of your hard work in a way that's impossible in a traditional job. Still with me? Good. Now that we've tackled the illusion of freedom, let's talk about something even more important. Failure. Because if you think responsibility is tough, wait until you hear how failure can actually become your greatest asset. Let's get one thing straight. Failure is not the opposite of success. In fact, failure is often the very thing that leads to success, if you know how to use it. Sounds crazy, right? But here's the deal. Every great entrepreneur has a failure story. Scratch that. Most of them have multiple failure stories. So, why is it that some people crumble under failure while others rise up stronger? The truth is, failure has a hidden power. It teaches you things you could never learn otherwise. Think about it. When everything's going smoothly, you don't stop to reflect. You don't question your methods or push yourself to improve. But when you fail, that's when you're forced to pause, analyze, and adapt. Let me tell you a quick story. Back in 1997, a little company called Netflix started as a DVD rental service. Yes, DVDs. They mailed DVDs to your house and you mailed them back. Super simple. But here's the kicker. In the early 2000s, Netflix tried to sell their company to Blockbuster for $50 million. Blockbuster? They laughed them out of the room, laughed, and guess what happened next? Netflix shifted gears, embraced streaming technology, and Blockbuster? Well, you know how that story ends. Netflix's initial business model didn't fail outright, but their attempt to sell the company did. And instead of giving up, they used that rejection as fuel to pivot and create something even better. This brings us to one of the most important lessons about failure. It's not about how many times you fall down, it's about how quickly you get back up and what you learn along the way. Now let's get personal. Have you ever failed at something and thought, maybe I'm just not cut out for this? That mindset right there is the real enemy, not failure itself. Successful entrepreneurs don't see failure as a sign to stop. They see it as feedback. They ask themselves, what went wrong? What can I do differently next time? How can I grow from this? Here's another example. Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, built a billion-dollar company off a single product, shapewear. But before Spanx, she failed hard. She tried her hand at becoming a lawyer, failed the LSAT twice. She sold fax machines door to door, got rejected over and over again. But every rejection taught her something new. How to pitch, how to deal with disappointment, and how to keep moving forward. And this leads me to an important takeaway. Failure is a sign that you're trying, that you're pushing boundaries, that you're stepping out of your comfort zone. If you're not failing at something, chances are you're playing it way too safe. But let's get practical. How do you actually turn failure into your superpower? Here are 3 steps. 1. Reframe it. Stop thinking of failure as a personal flaw. Instead, see it as an experiment. Just like a scientist tests hypotheses, you're testing ideas. Some will work and some won't, and that's okay. 2. Analyze it. After every setback, take time to reflect. What went wrong? Was it a bad strategy, poor timing, or something else? The more you understand the root cause, the more you can adjust for the future. 3. Use it as fuel. Let failure light a fire under you. Channel that frustration into action. Prove to yourself that you can overcome it. Remember this. The road to success is paved with failures. Every misstep is a step closer to figuring out what works. So here's my question for you. What's one failure in your life that you can revisit right now? Instead of seeing it as a dead end, can you see it as a detour that might lead to something better? Think about it. Okay, now that we've unpacked the power of failure, let's move on to an even bigger game changer, your mindset. If there's one thing that separates successful entrepreneurs from everyone else, it's this: mindset. You can have the best business plan in the world, the most innovative product, or even $1 million budget. But if your mindset isn't right, none of that matters. Here's why. As an entrepreneur, you're constantly navigating uncertainty. You're taking risks, making decisions without guarantees, and putting yourself out there in ways most people never will. And that kind of pressure, it can either crush you or push you to new heights, depending on how you think. Let's break it down. There are two types of mindsets: a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. If you have a fixed mindset, you believe your abilities are static. I'm either good at this or I'm not. And if something doesn't come naturally to you, you might give up. But a growth mindset, that's a whole different ballgame. With a growth mindset, you believe you can improve through effort and learning. I'm not good at this yet, but I can get better. This mindset is a game changer for entrepreneurs because it allows you to see challenges as opportunities, not roadblocks. Here's a perfect example. Elon Musk. Love him or hate him, the guy has a growth mindset. He's openly said, failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough. When SpaceX's rockets exploded during early tests, Musk didn't pack up and quit. He used those failures to refine his technology, and now SpaceX is one of the leading companies in the space industry. So, how can you cultivate a growth mindset in your own life? Here are 3 tips. 1. Embrace challenges. Stop avoiding hard things. Instead, lean into them. Every challenge is an opportunity to learn something new. 2. Reframe rejection. When someone says no to you, don't take it personally. Use it as feedback to improve your approach. 3. Celebrate small wins. Progress isn't always about big leaps, it's about the small steps you take every day. Recognize and celebrate those moments. And let's talk about hustle for a second. There's this huge emphasis in entrepreneurship on grinding 24/7. But here's the thing. Hustle without the right mindset is just burnout waiting to happen. True hustle isn't about working yourself to death. It's about working smart, staying focused, and maintaining a positive outlook, even when things get tough. One powerful way to keep your mindset in check is to practice gratitude. I know it sounds cheesy, but hear me out. When you're constantly chasing the next goal, it's easy to lose sight of how far you've already come. Taking a few minutes each day to reflect on what you're grateful for can shift your perspective and keep you grounded. Alright, let's move on to the final piece of the puzzle. The one habit that separates the good from the great. Here's a question for you. What do Jeff Bezos, Oprah Winfrey, and Warren Buffett all have in common? Is it their wealth? Sure. Their success? Absolutely. But there's something even deeper. They all have a relentless commitment to self-discipline. Self-discipline is the secret weapon of every great entrepreneur. It's not flashy, it's not glamorous, but it's essential. Because at the end of the day, success doesn't come from motivation, it comes from consistency. And consistency is built on self-discipline. Let's break this down. Imagine you have a goal to launch your own online business. Day 1, you're pumped. You've got your vision, your plan, and your coffee. But by day 10, the excitement wears off. Maybe you're tired, maybe you're doubting yourself. This is where discipline kicks in. It's the ability to show up and do the work, even when you don't feel like it. Think of it this way. Motivation gets you started, but discipline keeps you going. So how can you build this habit of discipline? Start small. 1. Set daily non-negotiables. Pick 2 to 3 tasks that you must complete every day, no matter what. Over time, this builds momentum. 2. Create routines. Successful entrepreneurs rely on systems and habits to eliminate decision fatigue. The more structured your day, the less willpower you waste. 3. Track your progress. Use a journal, an app, or even a whiteboard. Seeing your progress over time can be incredibly motivating. Here's the truth. Discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent. You don't have to hit a home run every day. Just keep showing up and swinging. Now imagine what could happen if you combined self-discipline with the right mindset and the willingness to embrace failure. That's the trifecta of entrepreneurial success. So, what have we learned today? Entrepreneurship isn't just about chasing freedom or building wealth, it's about growth. It's about learning from failure, mastering your mindset, and developing the discipline to keep moving forward, no matter what. The real reward of being an entrepreneur isn't just the end result, it's the journey itself. The lessons you learn, the skills you develop, and the person you become along the way. If you found value in this video, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to Financia Scope. We've got more content coming your way to help you level up your life and business. And don't stop here. Check out our other videos on this channel. They are packed with tips that could save you time, money, and a whole lot of stress. Thanks for watching, and remember, the entrepreneur life isn't easy, but it's worth it. See you next time.